Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville is out in its Founders Edition form, and they are hard at work on the game, trying to perfect things before its October 18th launch. But there still are some things that we think need extra tweaking, and so today we're talking about 5 big issues with PVZ BFN, and a solo discussion would not be that much fun, so I brought a special guest from across the pond, the Plants vs. Zombies legend himself, Zero.
I wouldn't really call myself a legend. Like,
No?
I wouldn't call myself a legend.
I think when I think of PVZ, I think of you, man.
Really?
Especially the console games.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Your
that.
logo is a Z from Plants vs. Zombies.
So that was actually a coincidence. Just I know we're going off
Really?
topic here, but yeah, I didn't know that this logo was actually like in Garden Warfare 2. I got it made like a month after launch, and I was like, oh, that's similar.
Hey, it worked out. Now, like I said, now I think of PVZ, I think of you. And obviously you guys should go check out Zero's channel. All sorts of incredible Battle for Neighborville content. He's got all the gnomes. I picture your house is just like full of those gnomes. Like you actually go and gather them.
You know, if they actually had them as merch, I would try and get them to send me some so I could have it behind me. So
There's an idea for you. You can take that one for free, EA, and PopCap will give it to you. But the game is not free. It's $30, and they're working on making it better. And so definitely let us know in the comments down below what issues you have with the game, what's one big change you'd like to see, and smash that like button if you enjoy and are pumped for more PVZ action. I think we got to go into the big one first, which is probably on the tip of everyone's tongues, and that is the character balancing issues.
yeah, so right now, obviously we're in Founders Edition. They're still going to be tweaking a lot of characters up until launch, and I'm sure a lot of you have probably noticed there might be certain characters which stand out that might be underperforming or a little bit overperforming. So we're going to be talking about what characters we feel need tweaking, need adjusting, but it kind of goes into more depth because you have upgrades, and then you don't want a character to be weak in PvP, but then too strong in PvE or vice versa. So it can be a little bit difficult to talk about, but I think Nightcap is one of the major ones which a lot of people are talking about right now.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Nightcap so far? Because you've not done too much PvP. What do you think of her in PvE?
Well, I think you made a really good point when we were planning the video, saying like because they don't have variants, like the classes themselves have to be so ultra balanced because they kind of have like one shot, right? You got to make sure that these are right. And I am surprised by how many people use Nightcap in PvP. Now on the PvE side of things, I don't think Nightcap is all that grand at all. But
no, she's not that good. Let's be like she's okay, but I wouldn't say she's my go-to character for PvE. But in PvP, yeah, she's definitely up there as one of the most powerful ones with damage, and her abilities making her go invisible just makes her so strong against other players.
yeah, it's that Feng Fu that just comes in for kill after kill after kill. And I think her speed like plays into her favor in PvE or PvP, whereas maybe in PvE it's not as important. But being able to like weave in and out of engagements in PvP, like she is a tough one to track down.
She's hard to hit as well. Like they've released a Trello board to talk about things that they're going to be working on. Shooting someone while they're moving is something they're looking into and fixing. So if Nightcap's trying to run away, she's going to be easier to hit. I've seen a lot of bunny hopping Nightcaps as well because she's got a double jump. So that's maybe one thing I'm considering. Should they take her double jump away? Because she can kind of like change movement mid-air, which makes it a little bit more difficult to predict where she's going to go. But Feng Fu definitely I feel like needs a tone down, whether it's going to be damage or she can move while she's using Feng Fu. So if a zombie's trying to move away, she can kind of move with them. So maybe she can't move as easily. Or like most of the time with Feng Fu, they use Shadow Sneak to get in there and then use Feng Fu. And I think right now she has 3 Shadow Sneaks that she can use. I don't know, maybe do a trial, reduce it to 2 so she can't use it as frequently as well. I don't know, there's so many different options. You don't want to underperform her. But at the same time, Nightcap, like, buffing the zombies is going to make Nightcap die easier because she's taking more damage in the first place, you know? Like, Nightcap's definitely up there as one of the most highest damage dealers, and some of the zombies, like Foot Soldier, you know, like, they're not the greatest. They definitely need some improvements themselves.
Yeah, I think a lot of the basic weapons probably need to be boosted. We've talked a lot about Foot Soldier, Colonel Corn. They need to do a little bit more damage. And I think it's tricky because like Nightcap is a character that easily could be so underpowered, and then no one would want to play this lightweight character that doesn't have a lot of health and also doesn't deal a lot of damage. So I understand probably why they erred on the side of a stronger Nightcap, but hopefully, like you said, like that Trello board and all that stuff, they'll get to see, like, we need a weaker Nightcap and a stronger set of attacks for foot soldiers. Are there any others that really stand out to you as weaker characters right now?
Colonel Korn is definitely up there as a weak character as well. You know, like Colonel Korn and Foot Soldier, they're kind of similar. Like, they're like your typical run and gun character. Both of their damages are quite low considering the character style, the play style. I also would say, even though Sunflower is a support character, her damage is ridiculously... I wouldn't say her damage is low. I just think her rate of fire is so slow. She doesn't put a lot of damage out. I don't know if you've experienced that yourself.
Yeah,
I feel like
slow.
I feel like the audio makes it sound like it's going quicker than it actually is as well. I don't know if you get that gist as well, but if you play as Sunflower and you listen to the audio of her shooting, and then you look at her ammo deplete, the audio seems to move faster than the ammo depleting, I guess. So it sounds like you're firing quicker than you actually are. So I don't know. I feel like Sunflower definitely needs a speed increase in her rate of fire. Rose I haven't really played too much of, so it's hard to judge. But yeah, there's a few zombies out there that I think need buffs as well. Electric Slide probably needs a buff as well, I feel.
Yeah, I was going to just mention Electric Slide needs a little bit. I really like Electric Slide. Actually, I'm surprised by how much I like Electric Slide, but I'd like to see a little bit more damage. And your point about the sound not matching up is an interesting one, because I feel like 80s Action Hero is probably my favorite character in the game, and his attacks are so massive looking that when they don't do a ton of damage, like, oh, I just jumped into the air and fired 100 missiles down on the battlefield. I expected to wipe everyone, but maybe I wiped no one, and that's not their fault. It's just there is sometimes a disconnect either between the audio and then the damage output, or the video, the visual, and then the damage output. But another thing in terms of video and visuals is the aim assist, and this kind of ties into character balance, or overall, I guess, game balance. It doesn't feel all that great, especially when it's on the heavier end.
Yeah, it's either too snappy, or your character just, I don't know, it just feels a bit clunky when you're trying to shoot a character. If you played like the previous Garden Warfare games, especially with a controller, you feel like you can follow the character or you can hit them easier. When it comes to this game, it feels like if you're trying to follow a character when they're moving, you might go too far in front of them, or you're not keeping up with them, I guess you could say, if you're trying to shoot them while they're moving. It just doesn't seem as easy as it was. Sorry, that was my cat.
Hey, the cat needs aim assist too. We all need a little aim assist sometimes, especially in PvE, and I feel like it's guiding me sometimes in the wrong direction, like I'm fighting against it, and that's exactly what you don't want from any sort of aim assist. So obviously this is the main area that they're focusing on, the character balancing, the performance. You know, we've talked about, like, there's a lot of lag in certain situations that they need to work out, but these are things that are their main focus, and that's kind of what we wanted to get it out of the way first. It's the biggest thing that people are talking about. It's the biggest thing that they are focused on improving. Let's get to something a little bit more nitty gritty.
Just before we touch on the next thing, I do want to just let everyone know that there is going to be a character balancing early October. They're not rushing into character balancing like nerfing Nightcap or something like that. So they're looking at all the information. They're looking at when people have got upgrades. There will be a character balancing early October, and they have mentioned buffing Colonel Korn and Foot Soldier so far.
Sweet.
But I'm sure there's going to be other characters that they're going to be looking into of either reducing damage or increasing damage as well.
Do you like that? Do you like that they're taking a bigger sample size rather than making... Because they could do, weekly adjustments, but it seems like they're going to take in a lot more data and then try to make a smarter overall change.
First, when I heard about it, I was like, are we going to have to deal with Nightcap like this till October? I was like, oh man. But then, since Team Vanquish has come out, I feel like Nightcap isn't as strong in Team Vanquish as she is in Turf Takeover. I don't know, that just might be my opinion, so I don't know if it's just more objective-based game mode, she's a bit stronger, or people are adapting to Nightcap now. Obviously, people are getting upgrades on their characters, so apparently 80s Action Hero gets really good with some upgrades, so... Yeah. Like maybe Nightcap's upgrades aren't as significant, so even though she starts out really strong at the start, with the upgrades, the other characters catch up a little bit. That's why they're not rushing into it, because you don't want to nerf Nightcap, and then later on, they realize that, this zombie, when he gets his upgrades, he's just on par with what Nightcap was before. So we don't want to rush into things. And they actually said Team Vanquish is the best game mode to get overall information from, because it's just a straight They said like Team Vanquish is the best mode to get overall data from for character balancing.
Well, let's go into character-specific perks, because this is obviously, it's a major part of Battle for Neighborville. It's a major change from Garden Warfare, removing the variants and giving us this perk and ability system here. Spending your 7 points sometimes, though, feels a little repetitive because, especially early on, there isn't a whole lot of variety between the different classes.
Most characters do have the same perks. Like the support characters can revive while using abilities and things like that, but there isn't too many perks unique to that specific character until you get to later down the road or with some of the abilities. But even then, like, I'm not saying that we need something that's just as significant as variants in the game. Like, I don't think we're going to get a fire upgrade for the pea shooter or an ice upgrade for the pea shooter, but I feel like we should get some upgrades that you can put on that character and it doesn't feel like the normal pea shooter. Like, you know, like you can put that perk on, it feels like a different, not necessarily like just a totally new character, but it feels like it's making a huge difference, and that's why you should use that perk.
Yeah, I think it's tricky because you don't want to run into a situation where the people that progress further have such a substantial advantage over the people with the basic abilities. And I think the way around that might be to shift how they distribute when you unlock the perks, right? Because like you said, like the early perks, some of them aren't that exciting. It's just kind of, okay, like what am I going to use my last 2 points on? I don't really like anything here. And maybe if they were to shift, like they don't have to give you all of them, but maybe if each character, each class had one of the ability perks like from the get-go, so you could, I can modify this ability right from the start, maybe it would feel A, like there is more variety, and B, wouldn't seem like, oh gosh, the people who have played more, who are inevitably more practiced and have more experience, also get access to these more exciting and potentially powerful perks.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And one thing which has just popped into my head when you said you don't want people getting these perks too early, maybe, like, you know, like it's not going to happen now because of the way they've created the game now, but when you promoted your character, maybe you got perk points and you could use those to pick a certain perk that you want to unlock, so you can kind of choose which direction you want to choose, and rather than you getting these two, then you get these two, you could be like,
right,
I want to play like Sunflower. She has certain perks which affect her heal beam. If you want to be a really supportive healer class, you could be like, well, I'd like to buy that perk for the heal beam, so then I can utilize that ability more often, so I'm playing my role. So yeah, that's just something that popped into my head then. That's just something that popped into my head literally just then. It's probably not going to happen because people are already playing the game, they've already promoted characters, so, but I don't know, it's just a thought that popped into my head. Maybe that's something, if down the road they add new perks, which I think they should definitely do. Like we're gonna probably talk about maybe, I don't know, like new characters maybe in the future is gonna probably be coming. I think they kind of confirmed in an article. New characters are great, but what are you gonna do for the old characters? Like adding new perks is how they can keep those characters fresh, and whether that's going to be changing up their ability or changing up the character itself, I think that's something that they should focus on as well. So maybe they could add that point system into those perks.
Yeah, that would definitely be pretty neat. I think, what do you think about, for them, you know, removing the variants was to kind of keep things a little bit more understandable for players, and also on the balancing side of things. So on one hand, the perks being kind of similar across the board does make things a bit more even, versus, hey, if every character had all different perks, all different abilities, well, now you're walking into a world once again where there's just so much incredible variety. You have this pea shooter that basically is a variant. So I think it's a tough balance, but you're saying that you don't like that all the characters basically have, at least initially, the same options, the same loadout, because is it because like sometimes it doesn't fit? Like you don't really need like this type of perk for this type of class?
Well, I mean, like Rose has a perk which allows her to, I think like she can use her abilities more frequently or something like that when she revives a teammate. But she's not the reviving class. So even though she's support, it kind of doesn't make sense for her to get a few perks that buff reviving, because that's not what her major focus is.
Right.
So, do you know what I mean? Like there's certain perks that kind of don't make sense for certain characters, and then certain perks, when you put them on, don't seem to make such a unique difference to the character. It's like, do I need this perk?
Yeah,
So
I would say like
for me right now, I can see the majority of the time, if I had every perk unlocked, I would probably see myself leaning more towards the perks that affect abilities rather than just the character themselves. Because I feel like they make more of a difference than just the normal perks themselves.
Right. Well, for me, like, what made Variant so special was that the character did feel so different, and it was instantly recognizable, not only visually, but in your playstyle, like how it impacted, your round or what you were doing. And it's very tough for me to tell, like, oh, did I actually reload faster? Oh, did I actually revive faster? It's much more nuanced little, it's a numbers game, which is fine because that's done in many other multiplayer shooters. I just think given the past history that PVZ has, we're expecting like, oh, if I'm going to put a perk on, I better notice it. And that's where those ability-specific perks, I think, are more fun.
Yeah, like there's one perk for Super Brains which allows him to have a fourth punch in his combo. That's a perk that's great. You notice that straight away. You can punch 4 times before you need to like get that first punch in again. So like perks like that, you notice it straight away. And then like you said, where perks might allow you to, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but like maybe revive a little bit quicker or something like that. Like you don't notice it as much. Whereas perks like the Super Brains one, that's something that you put on, instantly. And perks like that can make like a big difference and make them interesting and valuable, I guess you could say. It's adding value to the perks. Like you want every perk to have its own value and not have some perks that are just useless that no one's ever going to use.
I think this is one of the most complicated issues with the game because, again, it's like it's got to be tough for them. They don't want to add insane variety. They also want to make sure that the perk system's still fun. So it is one that's a little dicey. Maybe a little less dicey, though, is the PvE characters. It's pretty obvious which characters work well in PvE and which characters don't. And I find it frustrating because I don't know about you, Zero, but I like to use PvE as kind of a training ground / testing bed for me to like practice with characters. It's really hard to do that with some of the weaker PvE options. And I almost wish that they would have either locked out certain classes for specific quests or been able to scale the enemy's like health to make it easier for certain classes, because it's just not fun with some of them.
No, I totally agree. Like I've been doing some Weird in Woods this time, and the boss, some of the bosses that you can do, you go into the Space Cadet, use Space Station, you can just wreck them with an ability. Try that with an Imp, not in his mech, or try that with a different character. Foot Soldier, which is terrible, like that's going to take you a lot longer and it's going to be a lot more difficult, And then it's on the plant side, like you said, Pea Shooter, like he's Chili Bean, a lot of damage, massive area. Gatling, huge damage. And then we've got Oak and Acorn, which Oak does a huge amount of damage. Try doing that same battle with Rose, like, or Sunflower, which is, like we already talked about, has a pretty slow rate of fire. Like it just doesn't weigh up. So, like you mentioned, if you was playing as a certain class, it kind of rebalanced to that character. Like still added it as a challenge, but not as significant as if you was playing as a more powerful character.
Yeah, I think either there are two options there would be to have it be specifically balanced for each class, which may be tricky, or to recommend / lock out characters. Because if you're a new player and you're excited about, hey, I love Snapdragon, and you somehow manage to get to Old School, I don't know how you're killing Old School with Snapdragon. I feel like that's going to be... Like, that boss battle is amazing.
I've killed Snapdragon, Old School with Snapdragon.
Wait, you have?
Yeah.
How did it take you an hour? How did you do that?
So I was spitting my fireball at him, and then using my blue ball ability, and then later on, when he's in the middle... And he like spins around. Yeah. That's when you can just absolutely demolish him with your fire breath.
Interesting. Oh, because it just stays in that spot. Okay. Well, maybe I just need to get good then, Zero. Maybe that's.
I couldn't see myself. I couldn't see myself killing Old School with Rose though. Like, there's no timer on it, and there's no timer on that boss battle, and you'll still run out of time before you've eaten.
I just feel like if you're like, if you love Rose and you think that's so cool, and you want to be like kind of a magic class where you can transform, into goats and whatnot, like, it's going to be such a struggle. Or any of the classes that deal less damage, some of the early bosses in Town Center or the early bosses in Weird in Woods, like, they are so frustrating and so time-consuming, and it feels like you're not good at the game, but in reality, it's like, no, if you just want to swap to Pea Shooter, or like you mentioned, like Space Cadet, you'd be brushing through. So I wish that there was some way to... The PvE areas are so good, and we know there's not going to be an infinite number of them. So I just wish that there was more flexibility in terms of, hey, I can I can do more stuff in PvE with a bigger variety of classes.
Well, like you mentioned a difficulty meter. Like, what could happen is when you start a mission, let's say you want to do old school, you start that mission by talking or going into the doorway. After you start the mission, you then get the character selection screen, and then it puts like a difficulty bar next to each character, and if you play as a character that's on a higher difficulty, like for example Rose, then that means maybe you'll get a higher reward. So if you're gonna play as pea shooter against old school, maybe you'll get, I don't know, 5,000 coins for completing it. But if you did it as Rose, because it's much more difficult, if you complete it, you get 10,000, you know?
That's a super good fix, because that doesn't require them to like rebalance anything. That doesn't require them to lock anybody out. That just is a great way to reward you. If you want to try and get this done, the entire thing with Nightcap, be my guest. It's going to take a while, but we are going to, make sure that you're rewarded. I like that a lot. See, this is why you're the legend. This is why you're the legend.
No. You said the difficulty meter, and I was like, they already display that in the battle chests, so it's possible, you know. So, I like you mentioned the difficulty, and then it just, I don't know, we kind of fed off each other.
we built it together. Cooperative.
There you go.
PVZ BFN fixin'. Let's talk a bit about the currencies, because
where do we start?
Which one do we start with? There are so freaking many. And like, luckily as founders, we kind of got in on the ground floor where there was just coins and tacos, and now it's kind of adding from there. But if you buy this game on launch day or later in the founders time period, man, there's a lot of currencies. And I think what's annoying about currencies is a lot of them are used for the same thing, just in different places, and that becomes kind of confusing.
Yeah, if you're new to the game, you see tacos, you see marshmallows, you're like, what do all these currencies do? And then later on, when you actually explore them, like, they do the same thing, it's just in a different region. And then you've got so many more currencies on top of that. You've got you've got coins, you've got rainbow stars, you know? It becomes so much. Like you said, as a founder, you came into the game, it was coins and tacos. And then next week, it's marshmallows. And then there's a different currency in Mount Steep. And then, when Rux comes in, it's rainbow stars. And, like, we're getting that progressively. But like you said, if someone gets this game on launch, or they're watching a video months down the road, and they're like, what are all these currencies? I'm so confused.
Yeah, and this is probably isn't something that they can even change. It just strikes us as an issue with the game that we wish was a bit easier. And I think it's compounded because they are buying the same thing. I would love it if tacos, like, say, that's what you use to get the gnome maps, but no cosmetics. And you still used coins for cosmetics or something like that, because eventually we're going to have this system where rainbow stars buy cosmetics from Rux, coins buy cosmetics from the Rewardatron, tacos buy cosmetics within Town Center, marshmallows buy cosmetics. Like, it's just too much.
It gets to a point where it's crazy. And then on top of that, you can turn one currency into another one. You can turn tacos into coins and marshmallows into coins, and it becomes so crazy. And we discussed this earlier on. We understand that per region they want a unique currency, but it's not like only the plants have tacos, because in Town Center the zombies also have tacos. You can see that in the menu that it's shared tacos. So The zombies have tacos just like the plants. So I mean, like, even though it's not as unique, they could have tacos across the whole board and just make them unique to each region. But the tacos still do the same function that they do in every region.
Right. Yeah, I think there would have been a lot of ways to simplify this and smooth it out. And one thing that I know is kind of just like a subconscious thing is, like, as your numbers build and grow, it feels good. Like, the more you play the game, the more currency you get, the more you can buy. That feels good. And having so many different ones, like, maybe I've earned a ton of coins, but I haven't earned a ton of marshmallows, and therefore I can't get any of the Weirding Woods special stuff that I want. And I understand, like, that does increase the longevity of the game. It allows like them to say, hey, you got to play more in order to unlock this stuff. But it feels kind of bad to be like, wow, I've played a lot, I'm doing really great, but no, I have 0 tacos, or I only have 24 marshmallows.
Yeah, that's why so many people are watching guides on where chests are, where gnomes are, so they don't need to spend that currency on the maps, so they can then save that for the cosmetics, because it's 150, I think, for each gnome map. That's 450 right there. Like, that's almost one of the full cosmetics. So if you don't spend on those maps and use a guide instead, you're saving so many tacos. or marshmallows and stuff like that. So it's kind of taking the incentive away for people to buy these maps anyway, because you have to use that currency as well. So I don't know if they're going to be using that currency like later on. Like, come down the road, everyone's played Town Center, you've got all the cosmetics. Is tacos going to do anything else, or is it pretty much just going to be useless, apart from converting into coins? You know?
Yeah,
it's a currency that it's a currency that only has a use for a certain period right now. And I'm sure I don't know if coins are going to be like that. Like, they're going to sell things from Rooks. Are they going to add more cosmetics into Rewardatron that you can spend with coins as well? Like, we don't know this yet. I'm assuming they probably will do, because you earn coins doing everything in the game.
Right.
But you know, like, are they only going to have tacos and marshmallows going up to a certain limit, and then that's it? They're pretty much useless, or are they going to keep having some use in the future?
That's something that I didn't even think about. Like, it's super overwhelming at the start because there's all these currencies, but the longer you play the game, the more you invest in, like, the currencies kind of disappear. Because you're right, eventually, like, you won't need tacos for anything. You won't need marshmallows. You won't need whatever the Mount Steep currency. And then it kind of just does boil down to coins and rainbow stars. It almost feels like they should have flipped it, though. Like, hey, the deeper you get, maybe then there's, like, a special way to earn tacos, a special way to earn marshmallows for, like, these exclusive, you know, legendary cosmetics versus it all being up front. But
yeah. I think it'd be cool if they brought tacos into some other way down the road. Like, this could be something they're thinking about. But then, I don't know, let's say instead of it being tacos that you would spend on cosmetics in Town Center, they do some other way that you can spend the tacos. So that's kind of getting people to go back into Town Center and play it to get that currency. I don't know if that's their plan or not, but
it'd be a good way to reuse the PvE areas, because once you beat the quest and the boss and collect all the gnomes, like, yeah, what do you do?
Definitely, because those PvE areas are massive, and I think they're amazing. Like, comparing Garden Warfare 2 in the kind of like campaign to this, like, this game has so much content. Like, I was so happy when I saw all of it.
Yeah.
And I love it. Like, we've still got the Zombie Town Center, we've still got Mount Steep to go right now. I've still not even finished Weirding Woods and everything like that, and I've played a ton of the game. Like, I would have bought this game just for the single player, never mind without multiplayer, especially for $30. But, you know, it's just, like, are they going to do anything to get us going back into those regions, or is it going to be once we've done it, we're done, you know?
I hope so. I hope that they're able to, if they don't have the time or the funds to, you know, make a whole new PvE area, at least reuse them in different ways. Hey, we can have Taco Tuesday. We can go back in on Tuesdays, spend the tacos on something cool. And, there we go. I like that.
Maybe they'll hide. Maybe like, I know, like, Rooks is in Giddy Park right now with Rainbow Stars, but maybe, like you said, Taco Tuesday, he could hide somewhere in one of the regions, and that currency can be spent on that like, you could buy some cosmetics from Rooks for that period of time. So you don't know if it's going to be Town Center, Weirding Woods, or Mount Steep. You don't know which one it's going to be. You don't know where he's hidden. So you want to make sure you have a currency in all of them, so that when you find him, you can buy some stuff.
Yeah, he like appears on a weekly basis somewhere different, so you got to be ready. I like that, dude. We're
coming up with so many ideas now. We're gonna forward this to the devs. They're gonna watch this entire video, and they're gonna be like, "That's good. Let's add that. That's good. Let's add that."
Well, we're now gonna talk about something that is a little controversial, I guess. So the devs that are watching, you can leave now, because we're talking about monetization as our fifth and final issue with the game. There is a paid store coming. It's been mentioned in some articles. Rux's Emporium will be selling cosmetics via Rainbow Stars. You buy Rainbow Stars with real world money, and then you can buy cosmetics. There's also the Gumball machine, the Rewardatron that gives you cosmetics for currency, a random cosmetic. It's not a loot box. It's a Gumball machine, so it's very different. And then there's also the festivals, which are kind of their equivalent of the Battle Pass. Again, they like to do these, like, just different currencies, different systems. How do you think it's all going to shake out?
Personally, myself, first of all, let's just put it out in the open. We knew there was going to be microtransactions in the game anyway. If you was thinking that it was going to be launched, or there was never going to be microtransactions in this game, then you're silly, because it's in pretty much most games now, especially if it's a multiplayer game and not a single player game where they can, like, charge DLC. So we knew that was going to happen. Personally, as far as festivals go, I'm actually really happy with the direction they've taken. And the reason for that is they don't give you a paid version and a free version. It's just a free version, and you can unlock everything in that festival without paying a penny if you're a dedicated fan. which I think's great. But then also on top of that, they're giving you the option, even though it's probably not huge amounts, you can earn the premium currency, which is Rainbow Stars, to buy things from Rooks. You can get those rewards in the festivals and also with weekly challenges, which I also like as well. So yes, there's a premium store from Rooks, and a lot of people are going to be like, I'm not going to buy cosmetics, you know, like, I don't want to pay cosmetics. That's fine. It's cosmetic only. You don't need to buy anything, because there's already amazing costumes in the game now, and you'll also be able to get amazing cosmetics. Hopefully, you'll still get some amazing cosmetics, and they're not going to save them all from Rooks in the festival as well. So you've still got multiple different ways that you can earn cosmetics and look amazing in the game, and then the premium store's an added bonus if you want to spend any money on something. But I do like the fact that they give you the option to at least earn some of that currency without needing to pay as well, even though it's probably not a significant amount. You can save it up and then get a costume or a cosmetic that you like. Whereas other games literally just, you have to pay and that's it. Like, some games do that. At least this game is giving you the opportunity to work hard and then earn that currency a different way. But,
oh yeah, I think the free festivals is like a huge deal. I mean, because they easily could have charged for that. They easily could have made that their way to...
They could have split it. They could have split it. They could have had a free version and a paid version, and obviously have most of the good stuff on the paid version. But they've not done that. They've done it so it's free for everybody. Come to the end of the month, if you haven't unlocked everything you want to, you can use Rainbow Stars to kind of pay. You don't have to, but the option's there. But if you're a hardcore player, you can unlock everything if you want to. You don't need to pay anything, which I think is great, you know?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to remember, like, obviously monetization, microtransactions, all of that is always scary. And EA is scary sometimes. But I think the PopCap people and the team behind Garden Warfare 1 and 2, they've always been so player-focused, so player-centric, so fan-base-centric that I'm not that worried that this is going to be like some crazy debacle. I'm not worried that, like, oh, the free festival is going to have these really junky costumes and all the super fun stuff is behind, you know, Rux's paywall. I don't think they would do that. We obviously haven't seen what the rewards are for the festival. We haven't seen what the payable costumes are in Rux's Emporium. But just the way you're kind of describing it, like, hey, you can still earn Rainbow Stars via weekly challenges. You can even earn Rainbow Stars in the free festival. Like, it seems like it is a very friendly system that isn't trying to milk money out of you, but just more as an option rather than like a requirement.
Yeah, like I'm gonna buy costumes. I know I'm gonna buy costumes now if I like them. I know I'm not gonna be like, I'm not buying a costume. I was like that with Fortnite at first, and then ended up spending so much money on the game because I like the skins. I bought them. But I'm probably going to be the same with PVZ. I'm not saying everybody else is going to be like that. Maybe, I don't know, there's one skin in the entire lifetime of PVZ that you really love, and let's say it costs X amount of money, and you want to buy that. If like 10,000 people also do that in the lifetime of PVZ, that's a lot of money right there, which they can use to fund more updates, more characters, which they have said that's what they're planning on using this money for. So, like, they're planning on supporting this game. Yeah, they're planning on supporting this game for a long time. So, like, probably be new maps, maybe new game modes, new cosmetics, and, of course, new character classes, because obviously there's no variants in the game. They're planning on adding new classes instead. That's the direction they're going to be taking. So, they're not just going to be taking this money and doing nothing with it. They're using this method to fund to make the game last longer and be supported for longer, because the previous games, they've supported them for a year, so I'm hoping they'll support this for much longer if the Rooks and festivals end up being successful.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, it's easy to get very negative about microtransactions and stuff, but given the history, I mean, they could screw it up, I guess, but I think my faith is in them to do it right. I will say, just for all those of you out there that miss sticker packs, that I do still miss sticker packs, but like I'll share this with you. I talked about it in a previous video. Like, I've come to the realization that sticker packs don't work without variants. So sticker packs that just were for like random cosmetics would be pretty annoying. So I understand. Like, I've come to terms with they're not coming back and they're gone, and I get it, and it's okay. But just want to give a little shout out to them, because I do miss that fun.
No, I totally get that. Like, sticker packs were great. There was just so much filler in them, wasn't there? There was so much bling, like, especially in PVZ, there was silver, diamond, gold, gem, of things that you don't care about, you know? At least, like, now it's 30,000 for one cosmetic, and yeah, it's not a sticker pack, but each cosmetic is unique. It has its own, like, little value to it, so you can kind of customize it differently. So yeah, it's expensive, but I feel like coins aren't too difficult to earn in this game now as well. In the PvE region, it's very easy to earn a lot of coins.
Mm-hmm. I hope. I
they're
wish
still tweaking multiplayer as well. So
coin totals and stuff. Yeah. I wish that there was one more rewardatron, like a bigger rewardatron. Like, I understand this does start
like
drifting.
a bundle.
Well, or something where like, hey, and I know it's dicey because they don't want to do loot boxes, they don't want to do gambling, but like, okay, this one is a random item for 30,000, and this one for 100,000 is, the rarity is at least this level, just so it wasn't.
So it gives you a higher chance of getting the really rare items. Because if you have the currency, you have the option to spend like more on it,
Right. So it doesn't have to be. I don't know. To me, like, what is the difference between Rewardatron and a sticker pack in terms of like the loot box element? I guess
I wouldn't really say there's much difference between them. So, it's still random,
right?
I get that. Like a sticker pack and the Rewardatron, it's still a random thing. You're still paying X amount of coins to get a random item or a random number of items in sticker packs. It's just, I guess they're removing the filler and they're trying to put more value into each cosmetic, which is why you want to get one.
Which is great. I just think, like, if the goal, if the reason that they don't have anything like that is because they don't want any sort of loot boxes, well, then you should get rid of the Rewardatron as well. But since you're going to have Rewardatron, then at least give us one that offers, hey, I can spend 100,000 coins and at least get something of, like I said, like X rarity. I think that would be so much more rewarding. I don't know what the numbers are like behind the scenes. I don't know if you spent X number of coins, they kind of lean things in your favor, but it would be really annoying to spend like 3 million coins and all you got was a whole bunch of common and,
apparently
uncommon.
I think apparently legendaries are actually not too difficult to get this time. Like, I've seen a lot of people get a lot of super rares. I've spent 3 million coins so far. I think I've had like 4 or 5 legendary hats so far, so it doesn't seem too bad on at least getting them, because considering 3 million coins is how many times is that spending on the? I think that might be like 100 goes.
Yeah, it'd be 100.
So
I think.
Let's say 6 out. It's a lot of them, but I mean, if you're getting a legendary, like 6 out of 100,
that's pretty solid. Yeah, that's
not. It's not too bad considering like some costumes in this game. I got a sunflower costume today. I think it's the one that makes her pink. That's one of my favorite sunflower costumes, and it's a common. Like, the rarity doesn't necessarily mean that it's a better costume because it's personal preference.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a nightcap costume which is common, and she's green. I think that's one of her best ones as well. Like, I love the ones that just change the color of the plants. So it's a personal preference along that lines as well,
Yeah. Well, and I think to wrap up the microtransaction Rux Festival monetization discussion, like, as long as they deliver cool stuff in those festivals, it's going to be awesome. And I expect that, I would hope at least, that the festival costumes and pieces and the Rux's Emporium costumes and pieces are more tantalizing, more interesting than what you can just get out of the Rewardatron. And as long as that's balanced well, I don't think there's much issue here. As long as you don't feel like, oh crap, everyone who buys something looks so much cooler, then I think this is probably like, I know people love to get up in arms about it, but it's okay. Like, if you want to buy it, great. They're going to use it to make more characters to make the game better for everybody. And if you don't want to buy it, also great. You have the festivals, like...
The festivals are your way to get free cosmetics, regardless of where you want to pay or not.
Right.
Rux is an added option. If you don't have rainbow stars or you don't have any, you can pay to get some cool cosmetics. But just remember, at the end of the day, it's cosmetic only. You're not going to be able to buy characters from Rux. You're not going to be able to buy abilities from Rux. Like, if they bring new characters in the game, I'm pretty sure that the character's just going to be available for everyone. Just like you play the game now, you've got every character class unlocked. That's the way it's going to work. And then it'll just be buying cosmetics and gestures and victory slabs and all that stuff from Rux and from the festivals. All cosmetic. So it doesn't matter if someone spends $10,000 on the game and someone spends nothing on the game. The only difference is they've got more cosmetics than you have. Like, they don't gain an advantage or anything like that, which is also another key point which I think makes it a lot more fair as well.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. Like, shout out to one of my favorite games of all time, Evolve. They screwed up majorly by putting some of the coolest monsters behind a paywall, and there was no way to get that for free. So you'd be in the game and see these people playing as Behemoth or Gorgon, and they paid $15 for the monster, and they had this cool, awesome character that you were never going to get unless you dropped cash. And I love that whether you are a paying player or just a you buy the game and don't ever pay again, like you said, Zero, like you're gonna get all the characters, you're gonna get all the cool stuff, and that's why we love PVZ, and that's why Battle for Neighborville hopefully will be able to work out the balances, work out some of the performance issues, and become the game that we know it can become once October.
It's got a lot of
18th.
potential.
It really does.
It's got so much potential leading up to launch, which hopefully they do a lot more promotion, and then beyond. Like I feel like this game has so much potential if it like becomes successful with character classes, and the PVZ is a game which doesn't take itself too seriously, so the cosmetics they can come up with can be brilliant. Like certain cosmetics in Call of Duty where they're trying to turn into a clone, it doesn't work. PVZ could literally do anything. It doesn't matter if it's stupid or silly. It just would work. Like they could do anything they want to, and they can just be so creative with costumes. I have a feeling they're gonna come up with some really cool stuff.
Absolutely.
Especially if it's themed, like Halloween, Easter, Christmas. They could come up with so many cool things.
New Year's, we can have countdown costumes. I want a New Year's like Eve ball that actually like drops and raises on one of the characters' head. That's what I'm.
You want to what?
For.
Sorry.
Like on New Year's Eve when like the ball drops.
Yeah.
Like I want a character that has like a hat with like the ball slowly dropping and then like some sort of explosion. A New Year's costume. But we'll have to talk about what we want down the line in a later video. That'd be really fun to kind of predict and scope out what we wish would be in the game. But those are 5 major issues right now that are going on in Battle for Neighborville. Let us know your take in the comments down below. What is your big issue with the game, and what do you think about the ones we discussed? Make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed. Make sure to go subscribe to Zero. I'm still going to call you the PVZ legend. I'm sorry. That's how I view you.
Well, when I just remember, when I was like starting off Garden Warfare and that, you was this massive channel, and it was like you and Game Riot all doing like Garden Ops together, and it was like, you guys are cool. Like you guys, you're like the PVZ guys, and then. Like, I guess PVZ was my main focus that I've focused on for a good few years, so I've got known for it more than any other game.
For sure.
So I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, well, no problem at all. I'm glad we now get to play this one together. Get out there and play more. Give them your feedback. Like Zero mentioned, they've got that Trello board. That's a big resource, not only for them, but for you, because it'll help make the game better. So take advantage of that, and we will see you on the next one. Until next time, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Drink some hot chocolate, and we will see you all later.
Bye.